Hello, this is Brahim Selassie, the Orthodox Catholic One, here on YouTube, and today's video will be about Calvinism. Specifically, their claim that it's impossible for anybody to keep the commandments in any sense. And so this is part of their doctrine of double imputation, that Christ could keep it all for us in his place, in our place, and we just can't help but break them. Though this is generally what they teach, there are a few Calvinists that seem to teach otherwise. Anyway, this is especially taught by people like Matt Slick of carm.org, and he insists it's impossible to keep the commandments, whether old or new. But this contradicts several things in the New Testament. In fact, I brought up these verses before to Matt Slick, and he ignored them. Oh no, rather, he said he accused me of ignoring his verses, which I addressed. Then I accused him of ignoring these verses, and he said I didn't ignore them, I just didn't address them. And at which point he never addressed them. Anyway, the first verse I'm going to use is at the end of the Bible. It's Revelation 12, verse 17. It says, "So the dragon was enraged with the woman, and went off to make war with the rest of her children, who keep the commandments of God and hold the testimony of Jesus." So it says they do keep the commandments. Then Revelation 14:12. Here is the perseverance of the saints, who keep the commandments of God and their faith in Jesus. So it says they keep the commandments, once again, these saints. And it also likewise, Matt told me that the first and greatest commandment, which says you must love God with all your heart, soul and strength, and so on, he says this is impossible to keep. However, the Bible does say otherwise. For instance, concerning King David in 1 Kings 11, verse 4, "For it came to pass when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not whole with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father." Then we also have 1 Kings 15, verse 3. "And he walked in the sins of his fathers, which he had done before him, and his heart was not whole with the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father. For because of David, the Lord his God gave him rule in Jerusalem, to set up his son after him to preserve Jerusalem. Since David did what was just in the eyes of the Lord, and he did not turn away from all that the Lord had commanded him all the days of his life, except in the matter of Uriah the Hittite." That's the Bathsheba incident. But they said, God's saying right here, that was the one problem with David. Otherwise, he did keep the commandments. And then you have 1 Kings 15, verse 14, a little on later. It says, "But the high places were not taken away. Nevertheless, the heart of Asa was whole with the Lord all of his days." Let's see. 2 Kings 18, verse 6. "For he clave to the Lord, departed not from following him, but kept his commandments, which the Lord commanded Moses." Let's see what else. "And I will give them a hearts to know me, that I am the Lord, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God, for they shall return unto me with their whole heart." Jeremiah 24, verse 7. And so that's people seeking God, something else Calvinists say you can't do. "And ye shall call upon me, and go and pray to me, and I will hearken unto you, and ye shall seek me and find me, and when ye search for me with all your heart." Again, another verse in Jeremiah 29, verses 12 to 13, that says people do seek God. Now here's 2 Chronicles 34, 31 to 32. "And the king stood in his place, and made the covenant before the Lord, to walk after the Lord, and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all his heart and with all his soul, to perform the words of the covenant that were written in this book. And he caused all that were found in Jerusalem and Benjamin to stand to it. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem did according to the covenant of God, the God of their fathers." But this verse clearly says they did according to the covenant. It doesn't say they tried to and failed. Eventually, I'm sure they failed, but at least for a while, they were faithful. Anyway, here's another verse in St. John, in 1 John 5, verse 2 to 3. It says, "By this we know that we love We love the children of God when we love God and keep His commandments. For this is the love of God, that we keep His commandments, and His commandments are not grievous. Calvinists will say they are grievous. Calvinists will say we cannot keep His commandments, but we can love God anyway. Or maybe we just love God in our place. Perhaps that's what they believe. But anyway, notice St. John doesn't think even for a moment that it is impossible to love God or to keep His commandments, but uses this as evidence. Then states the commandments are not grievous. And another example, one at the beginning of the Gospel of Luke, we see Elizabeth and Zechariah. It says concerning them, and they were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord blameless. Wow, that sure doesn't sound like Calvinism. Then here's another one about Abraham. Although Abraham did commit some sins throughout his life, still the Lord, nonetheless, at the end of his life, said, Abraham hearkened to my voice, and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. Abraham did keep the commandments and the law, despite Calvinist insistence that such a thing is not possible. If you read it, the previous verses, you will see why God blessed Abraham's seed. Not simply by faith, but because he did all this. He listened, he obeyed. Anyway, this is Brian Selassie, the Orthodox Catholic One, here on YouTube.